coming down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's just like trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Very good evening and a warm welcome to round 4 of the Porsche Cup Challenge Europe. So, goedenavond en welkom in België. We're at Circuit Zolder for round 4 of the championship. And a big thank you, as always, to Blackouts Electrical Services, based in Brisbane, in Australia, serving the East Queensland area. They're electricians specialising in commercial and industrial renovations and fit-outs, power systems analysis, and switchboard replacements. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. No Dan Pepples tonight, because I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one behind JPB Broadcasting. It's James Parfitt. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. How are you doing?
I'm all good. I'm travelling, but it's nice to have you with me. For what's going to be an exciting evening. We've got 2 races. This circuit, 2.5 miles. It's been around for 60 years. It's hosted a lot of stuff, including Formula One. But these drivers are really going to be put through the ringer tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, they should be. If it's anything like Thursday's America's one, mate, these guys are going to have an interesting race. They've got to be careful of turn 5, the Klein chicane, partly because that caused a little bit of issue on Thursday with people riding over too much and bouncing off into the gravel trap. So they've got to be a little bit careful there, and also coming down into turn 8 also was an interesting little flashpoint as well of people trying to make some moves, should we say. So they've got to be careful there.
Yep. So, as per last week, there was a change in terms of the qualifying. So, it's an 8-minute lone qualifying session where a driver will complete a total of 2 laps. Then we have the 15-minute sprint race, and then we have the 30-minute sprint race. And we've already had, in the Europe division, a double winner. And we're on his home turf as well. And that man just happens to be Vince Baters, and it's a Belgian doubleheader because next week for round 5 of the championship we head a little bit further south to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. What about that for a Belgian doubleheader, eh, James?
Spa is always epic. I've got to be honest. I love Spa as a circuit, and I think these guys are going to thrive on that circuit as well. And it's going to be interesting because we've got, as you say, the likes of Hammers in here. Philip Hammers back in here as well. But, there's going to be some dark horses, I think. You can see at the top of the timing there, Spencer Marsh mixing it up in with the pros. So that would be good to see how he gets on. But they're going to enjoy this one. They can't look really past this one. That's the thing. They've got to be looking just at this circuit for a minute before they look down the road at the iconic Spa, of course. They want to be focused on what they're doing here tonight, because either track, if you're not focused, Alex, will catch you out in general.
Definitely, and a very good evening to my partner in crime for the past few rounds, Mr. Dan Pepples. Impressed with my pronunciation this evening. We're going French for Spa-Francorchamps based on the Liège region where it's based next week. But qualifying underway. Now, this circuit is infamous. There's so much undulation. They go through the Kleine Chicane just after the Lucien Bianchi bocht, and that's where the elevation changes start. You got the chicane at Villeneuve and then Terlamen. Of course, this circuit was originally known as Circuit Terlamen before they called it Zolder. I'm currently, folks, if you're wondering where I am in the world, I'm exactly 40 minutes away from Zolder. I'm currently in the Netherlands at the moment because of a karting double header, but I wouldn't miss out on something like this. And we've seen it before. Vince Baters has been the standout dark horse. He nearly got 2 double victories on the trot. VIR, him and Igor Koz were battling each other right up until the checkered at VIR. They went through the roller coaster part of the circuit, like 5 corners to go, and Baters just tried to plant it around the outside. Koz went, no, you don't, out the final corner. It was a run to the line. They were about about a tenth apart, but I think Vince Baters has really got to get... I think Philip Hammer knows that Vince Bators is going to be his biggest challenger this season. But Hammer, we all know, has been rather consistent.
And that's the thing. We all know that you can win a championship without winning a race, right? Or you can at least win one and then still take the championship. We all know that can happen. But they've got to be especially careful, right? Partly because of Heat 2's top 8 reverse. Now, if, for instance, Hammer takes the win in Heat 1, he's going to be in 8th for Heat 2. Now, the rest of it is he's going to have the fast people in front of him. Like Peters, like Berger, like everybody else who's in front of him there as well. So it's not about how they just manage to come through that traffic. It's how they go about managing the traffic. It's all right taking it into turn 8 and wanting to dive up the inside. But if you're going to have that door closed on you, mate, there's only one thing that's going to happen, and that's you're going to end up in the backside of somebody else, unfortunately.
Or here at Zolder in the wall.
Yeah. Either or, mate. Well, that long gravel trap out there as well. We saw that on Thursday for the American Series. Claims for victims as they run slightly wide coming out of turn 2 as well. So they've got to be a little bit careful. Yeah. Turn 3 is another little flashpoint. And going up here into Klein is an area where if you catch too much of the sausage curb, you are going to struggle to keep that car on track. You know, they've got to be careful. That exit curb there is an absolute nightmare. And if you take it too much of it, you're up in the air.
Yeah, as we're with Daniel Thomas at the moment, who's also shown his hand quite a number of times over the course of the season so far. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing who's going to be at the sharp end and who's really going to... I mean, Dan Pepples has already pipped Vince Bators for a double victory again. I mean, the class of the guy, he's aggressive, he's calculating, he knows exactly when to throw that car up the inside of somebody else. And he gives no quarter. And that's what you want. You want someone to upset the apple cart, don't you?
Yeah, the only thing I see as we're watching Sproul there, Sproul's just gone on to pole on a 130.531. The only trouble I see with that is not the fact of being aggressive, which, you know, from a commentator's point of view, we do enjoy that. Mm-hmm. But if Hammer's going to come back at him just as aggressive on defence, there's only one way that's going to end up, right? There you go. There's that curb. Exactly that for Dennis Stroper there. Unfortunately, that's exactly what can happen. Right on cue, funny enough. Well done, mate. Thanks for that.
Yeah, Jordan Strudwick has really showcased his skills, and no surprise at all that Jordan Strudwick has, I see, got a little green slash of colour alongside him. He was an amateur driver up until last round, but really put in some great performances. At the moment, Samuel Sproul is leading the battle for pole position. He's about 60% through his second lap. Jordan Strudwick's about 30% through his second one and is about to close to a couple of tenths off. Dennis Striper's pulled it into the pits, probably not at all surprising when he went through the Glenna Chicana. And all of a sudden, bang, and the car is dented. Aidan Young, though, goes top of the timesheets, 1 minute 30.14. So, and he's been a dark horse. He's been tearing it up in the Americas, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things here as well. I'm just trying to see why Hammer's not got a lap time currently at the moment either. He's not set one at the moment, and we've only got about 2.5 minutes left. I'm not entirely sure he's actually going to be able to get one in here. He definitely is not going to take this one, so he might have one more chance to go and get a lap time in as well. But again, you go back to that consistency with Aidan Young. You know, you can't be silly. You've got to make moves that are going to protect you and get the place done cleanly. You can't be going rushing up the inside, diving up everybody left, right and centre and doing all these crazy things that we've seen in so many other series of people just forcing their way through and making gaps that aren't there and taking things free wide and all of this. You've just got to be really sensible. And it'd be interesting to see Hammer's on a 205. He's just coming into turn the chicane at 10. So he should get this lap in, but he's limiting himself to one lap currently.
Yeah, we did have that with quite a few drivers in qualifying last time out. So it just goes to show that you've just got to really, at this circuit, the track limits are so tight. You make one wrong move and you can straight away cause yourself a problem. Misha Berger now goes P2, 7 100ths behind Aidan Young, Daniel Thomas, Dominic Gerber, Samuel Sproul are your top 5 at the moment. It's a top 6 pro lockout courtesy Jordan Strudwick. Spencer Marsh is next up. He's the highest of the amateur drivers, ahead of Jaime Fierro. But then Jaime Fierro decides, well, I'm going to go quicker, and goes P6. Misha Berger has an off-track. Whoops. But there is the Hammer himself. And yeah, like you say, this could be his only opportunity. I think the biggest problem is around this kind of circuit, the track limits are so crucial to get a clean lap in qualification. And if you circumvent those track limits, we know what happens. And, oh, he has just returned to garage, and he has not...
got a time.
Set the lap time, folks. Whoops.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting one for Hammer, because currently he's sitting down in 23rd place there. He had picked up a couple of off-tracks throughout that section of why we were looking at him, so probably that's what's causing the problem. But then again, I suppose that's the issue when you leave it so late and trying to go for one lap. It just doesn't work, unfortunately, and that's the verdict after all of what comes out of it.
Oh, you know what they say, James, as we both know, you reap what you sow, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So that's exactly what's happened. We're with Misha Berger now. I think if
Alistair
I remember
Hay.
correctly.
Alistair Hatcher,
Hay.
sorry.
Hatcher, okay. Alistair Hatcher with that wonderfully garish livery in the 964. He's now returned to the pit lane, but the checkered has been out. So we're going to have a look at the grid for the first of two races very, very shortly, which will be the 15-minute sprint race. And it's going to be Aidan Young on the front row with Misha Berger alongside Daniel Thomas and Dominic Gerber on row 2. Samuel Sproul and Jaime Fierro. Fierro top am in this qualifying session on row 3. Jordan Strudwick, Spencer Marsh, Kenny Eckert, and Niall Killen running at the top 10 no events. Salvatore Guariento, Alexander Vilfert, Nicholas Yerolf, Young Choi back again, Byron DeBello, Dennis Stroiper, Alistair Hatcher, Bjorn Ritter running at the top 19, Stephen Eckenrode running at the top 20. And then we look at our 27-strong grid. Smallest grid of the season so far, but some people who haven't attended this round will use this as a drop score. You've got Alexander Redhead, Danny Hugendorn, Vince Peters, Philip Hammer, Holger Meifert, Adam Morrow, and of course, everyone's favourite, Mr. Gordon Ramsay at the tail end of the field.
Hammer and Peters on the same part of circuit at the beginning. That's going to be one to watch.
I think they're waiting for the chaos to actually ensue in front of them, as we're just waiting for everybody to ready up. Actually visited Zolder back in October last year, watching the Belcar Sky Limit Sprint Cup with one of my good friends, Mr. Spiezia, who's also a good friend of Mr. Pepples. But everyone's starting to grid up. Our pole sitter is there, Aidan Young, so he'll have the perfect run down to Erster, which is effectively Flemish or Dutch, whatever you want to call it, for first corner. And then it gets very, very tricky. It's a bit like Wilson's at Snetterton, but in reverse. It's like being inverted, so to speak. But we're just waiting for Alistair Hatcher to get onto the grid, which he has done now. So we wait with bated breath for the 5 lights to ignite here at Circuit Zolder in Belgium in the Limburg region. Second, third, fourth, fifth lights are out. We are underway. Plenty of wheel spin from the back end of the field as they all fan out. And who's going to get to the first corner first? It is going to be Misha Berger going around the outside of Aidan Young, going into Erster, then into Stellenwacht, which is turn 2, the right-hander here. Then it goes into a triple right into total. Canal is the next one. Berger's got the run on Young, but American's still keeping it pinned to the outside as they make the short drag, and Young switches to the inside into Lucien Bianchi-Bocht and gets back into the race lead. Seems to be very, very close so far, but Jaime Fierro has literally sprungboard up the field from 6 on the grid to P3.
Yeah, he's made 3 places on the start. Jordan Strudwick's up 2 as well. Spencer Marsh is another one who's up 2 currently at the moment. Philip Hammer looks like he's just been bullied out there. There was a Young Choi off the side of the circuit currently at the moment, and he's dropping down the order. Alex Redhead as well got caught up with Choi coming back on at the moment as well. But it is Hammer down in 19th. And Peters is up 8 into 15th after he makes contact, which looks like Eckhart in front as well. So it's all getting a little bit tight further down, but everybody apart from Choi seems to be okay currently at the moment, and we've still got Aidan Young leading the way.
Lanish Chicana, yeah. Young Choi just straight lined it, and Philip Hammer had to avoid. Hammer currently sitting in 18th place. He's made up 6 positions. Vince Pater's already into double digits and climbing up the order, running on board with Philip Hammer himself, and that is going to be another positional change very shortly if he gets past Byron De Bello, but De Bello's on the inside into the Jackie Ixbocht. After the 6-time Le Mans 24-hour winner and Formula 1 driver. And, oh, dearie me, Spencer Marsh has had a turnaround coming out of that chicane. Whoopsie.
Yeah, and he's just come straight out in front of Noah Wentz there. He's gone into the pits. Gordon Ramsay still plodding away there as well. The Scotsman, it looks like Kenny Eckert has gone off on turn 1, which was another flashpoint that we did talk about. It's quite easily done there to run wide. But Salvatore Llorente here and Dominic Gerber currently side by side with Niall Killen just up the road as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out as they go into turn 5.
Vince Bater's already up to 11th position. Someone's hit the kitty litter on the outside, going through turn number 3 as Guariento, and oh dearie me, no
Gerber.
Traction control. Gerber's had an off. Gerber's had an off. That's not what he wanted right there, and he's in the kitty litter. He's having to do a 3-point turn to get back out onto the asphalt. And there is Daniel Thomas, Dominic Gerber. Alistair Hatcher's had an off track. No Events has been in the pits for nearly 30 seconds. As the timer counts down, but Daniel Thomas has got a little bit of air between himself and Salvatore Guariento, who is currently P6. But Niall Killen is leading the way in the, is second in the amateur class. Jaime Fierro is not that far behind. He's about 1.4 seconds behind Misha Berger. But Aidan Young has pulled out a gap of about half a second. Tolerances, as we said earlier on during qualifying, James, are very finite. And also the fact that if you are not within a half a second or a 7/10 of a second window of the car in front, you are not going to get a tow. I mean, there's hardly any aerodynamics on these Porsche Cup cars, let's be completely honest, as Misha Berger sets the fastest lap of the race at 1:30.75. It's all about just mitigating it, and then you throw in the good old caveat of no ABS and no traction control. It's just like, yep, there you go. Go out there, play, have fun. If you spank it in the wall, it's no problem. You can return to the garage.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's a good thing with kind of what we do here with this side of it. You know, simulation, it is just that. It is a simulation of how it would act while you're driving it currently. And these cars can be no more than Bambi on ice at times. You know, you might as well just put some roller skates on your dog and hope for it and say go and survive a rollerball or something like that, because that's where they're going to be at. If you put too much pressure on it. We saw it there. Vince Peters has just lost a position. Daniel Thomas. Thomas was involved with Gerber earlier on as well, and he's been a little bit of door running for Peters there at the same time. So, you know, they've got to be really careful. Daniel Thomas is showing some aggression, and he's made moves. He's down 5 from where he was, and at the moment he's got to be fighting his way back through, but they've got to be careful. One slip of the brake, one too much acceleration, and these cup cars are going round. There's no doubts about it whatsoever.
It looks like Danny Hugendorn's had a bit of a mare as well. He's dropped quite a few places. He's dropped out of the top 20. So has Hugendorn had an issue? The answer is a confounding and 100% conclusive yes, because that car is now dropping down the order like a stone being thrown into a pond and making a big old splash at the same time. Alexander Redhead is now on our screens at the moment, currently battling away. Looks to be with Spencer Marsh, who's just behind. Marsh is on the comeback trail. We're just over 3 laps completed, and now Marsh looks to the inside of Erster. That was a clean move, and Redhead actually anticipated that quite well. He thought, well, if Marsh is going to send it, I'm going to keep out of the way. But then we look a little bit further forward. Vince Peters, folks, has gained 14 positions. Adam Morrow in 14th has gained 12. And Vince Peters is just waiting for his opportunity. They go through into Villeneuve. Now, and that was very, very close indeed. It's nearly 3 wide, and Vince Peters to the inside. And it's going to be the run down to the Villeneuve chicane. And Vince Peters goes round the outside. Absolutely ridiculous. There was no respect given to Daniel Thomas right there. And he makes it through the Villeneuve chicane and into Terlamen-Bocht. And now he is starting, he's got some clean air. And that's the beauty of the Porsche Carreras. You can get clean air, you run faster. And we know what Vince Peters has been like this season. I mean, Philip Hammer has got reason to be worried, because where is Hammer at the moment? Well, he's up 14 places, currently 3 behind Vince Peters. Stephen Eckenrode and Holger Meif. Well, Holger Meif has just jumped into the pits, but I think those in front of Vince Peters, you know, there's 10 seconds between nearly 11 seconds between Vince Baters and Aidan Young at the moment, but Vince Baters, the further up the order he goes, the lower down the top 8 reverse grid for race 2 he will be, but that hasn't stopped him before.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. He needs to get up at least 6th or 7th, and he has just managed to go 6th at the moment, currently past Niall Killen. So he is now up into 6th place, is Peters. Hammer's working his way through. He's up 14 as well, currently sitting in 10th with Goriento in front of him, and Salvatore there as well. So on the outside, the car 210. Oh, take that slow down, sir, and you might as well let Hammer through now, because you are going to have to slow that up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wilfred get through at the same time there. Goriento not doing himself any favours.
And he's got right up his exhaust pipes on that flat 6 boxer engines for the briefest of moment. Alexander Vilfert, who's got Bjorn Ritter not too far behind. Adam Mori now halfway, well, he's halfway from where he started. Started 26th, now 13th position. Alexander Redhead has made up 4 places to 17th. Gordon Ramsay started 27th, now a genuine 18th place, because some people have fallen by the wayside, but Aidan Young is still leading the way. Niall Killen is trying to hold off the advances of one Daniel Thomas. Guariento's just lost a couple of places, make that 3, and he's very close to dropping out of the top 15. He's lost it at one of the wrong places, off at the Jackie X-Box. He's just completely lost the back end. Was he trying to audition for Jim Carner?
I'm not really sure. We can might be able to have a look back and see what he'd been up to, but he looked like he made a little bit of a boo-boo, and see if he was there on his own. So here is Goriento.
Yeah, he's just going to turn it in. So first part negotiated nicely.
No.
And he just boots the throttle too hard, and he was lucky that no one collected him at the same time. But that was definitely brown trouser moment right there and then for Salvatore. But yeah, it just goes to show, we said about ABS, we said about traction control. These are 2 items that are your friends in a sports car. This is a cup car, completely different derivative of the 992 variation of Porsches. But in the meantime, Aidan Young has started opening up a gap to the tune of about 8.5 tenths of a second over Misha Berger. Jaime Fierro still leading the way in the amateur class, looking to pick up his first class win of the season. David Ayres saying, anyone watch the TCR UK races from Snetterton today? That is on my watch list for the next couple of days, because I have been meaning to catch up with that. Kenny Eckert is now in the pit lane. But Jordan Strudwick sets a personal best. Adam Morrow also setting a personal best. Philip Hammer now Vince Peters has just put in the fastest lap of anybody, and he's close to a 1 minute 29.9, 1 minute 30.03 for the Belgian, and he's 4.16 seconds off of Jordan Strudwick, but time is fast running out on this race. But as you said, if he stays in 6th position, okay, it's going to be a good haul of points, isn't it?
I think that's going to be the interesting thing. He's managed to make his way through the field. He's come up 17 places. Right, Hammer's trying to do the same thing and stay as close as he can. Hammer hasn't been as definitive as Peters has been with his overtake. So he's been a little bit more gingery like that, as he was there with Killen in front of him. You know, Peters probably would have just thrown that around the outside and job done. But Hammer's been a little bit more sensible. He's been like, okay, I can do this. We're just plodding along and hoping. But it's from Peter's point of view, he's in the perfect position. Hammer's, though, if he stays where he is, technically, he doesn't have to do anything else. He's going to start on the front row. He'll be in 2nd place. He needs to get Killen, doesn't he, actually, to get his poles. It's the top 8. So he needs to get Killen here to get himself onto pole position. So he's got to do it within the next 4 minutes. Otherwise, it's, not going to happen.
Yeah, and that will definitely not please Mr. Hammer, because he'll be quite a few places behind Vince Peters, who's just broken the 1 minute 30s. 1 minute 29.93 for the Belgian. And he really is doing a very, very good job as Philip Hammer going round the outside. That's a brave move, and he got that done. He has going in to Stellenwacht, and he's got through on Niall Killen. Just behind him, there's Bjorn Ritter, his teammate from the WS Racing Esports crew. currently sitting in 11th position, battling away with Alexander Vilfert in the number 79.
Yeah,
And a very good evening to Mr. B in the chat.
Evening, good evening to you. Yeah, Wilfred's blinking as well, so that's not going to help Ritter's perspective of what's going on in the world with the car in front of him. So from Ritter's point of view, he's either got to be definitive that he knows that Wilfred's out on the outside or out on the inside or something, because he's going to need a definitive space to put that car in. Because the last thing you want to know is disappears, he takes a line, Wilfred comes back on, there's contact because he's right in front of him. So from Ritter's point of view, he's got two choices. Send it and hope that Wilfred's not there, or wait for Wilfred to give him a gap to be able to get him through. Because, yeah, blinking car is never good currently at the moment. But Jaime Ferrero here has got the ever-closing Samuel Sproul right behind him. And Ferrero, mixing it in with the pros at the moment.
Yeah, we've seen Samuel Sproul do that. Jordan Strudwick did that very, very nicely last time out at round 3. And there is the number 66 from New Zealand, part of the Blackout Motorsport New Zealand crew. A few drivers making personal bests, Strudwick being one of them, a 1 minute 30.5. Daniel Thomas, a 1 minute 30.9. Misha Berger, 1 minute 30.3. And there are a couple of drivers that are about half a lap behind those at the back end of the field. I mean, Noah Wentz, Danny Hugendorn, Alistair Hatcher still circulating, so is Kenny Ecker. Looks like Holger Meifert's called it a day. So not much time left, chaps. You've got to put your best foot forward and not get yourself a slowdown penalty, because we're on to lap number 9 of this race. Not much time remaining here, James. It's just about a case of sometimes being strategic around such a tight and undulating circuit.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close here. I think we're going to be on the last lap. We are, actually. Aidan Young is not going to get across the line before we break that 1 minute 30. So this is going to be the final lap of the race. Now, the interesting thing about this is what Ritter, Welfare and Killen's going to be able to do down in this midsection here. You can see them on your screen. We're on board in the cockpit with Ritter now. You can see Wilford's in front and Killen's in front of that as well. And at the same time, Morrow's behind. So they've got to be really sensible now, because you've gone into the final lap. Okay, this is the final lap of the race. You don't want to be doing anything silly. And as we say that, Adam Morrow pulls out and goes back in. God blimey, he did, I guess, from that one. Because if he sent it, it could have been even more dangerous. But, you know, it's going to be on here, Jaime Ferrero and Samuel Sproul at the same time. As well as they're coming around on that run up into turn 4 currently.
Yeah, and Vince Peters again, he has been, for the last 2 race evenings, he has been absolute mustard. He's just put in a 1 minute 29.8. I did say to Dan last week, when we go to the Belgian doubleheader, Vince Peters is going to be the one to keep a keen eye on, as there was a little bit of a sharp intake of breath from your side right there and then.
Yeah, it's only because he went over the chicane and he took a lot with all 4 wheels being off the curb. Now, normally at that point, he's hit a slowdown. So he's either well and truly tried what line he can take there to know just how far he can go out on that chicane. Because normally if you go out too far, as we saw already, they have a slowdown out there. But Peters didn't get one currently, but we have got Aidan Young coming through the last couple of corners.
So Aidan Young took the victory after a dynamic battle with Niklas Nodder and Philip Hammer at Brands Hatch. And it's out of the final corner. Checkered flag out this time. Aidan Young picks up his 2nd victory. He's taken a feature race at Brands Hatch, and now he's taken a sprint. Misha Berger rounds out the top 2. Jaime Fierro takes the victory in the AM class, and it was a bit close for comfort between Sproul, Strudwick and Peters for the rest of the top 6, as Vince Peters decides, I'm going to celebrate. I've got onto road 2, Mum. I'm on P3. And that'll help him in the 2nd race. Philip Hammer finishing behind Daniel Thomas. Niall Killen in 9th. Alexander Vilfert in 10th, ahead of Bjorn Ritter. And we've got Adam Morrow. Nicholas Garoff has just crossed the line. So is Spencer Marsh, who drops down to 14th position. Salvatore Guariento has crossed the line. So is Dominic Gerber starting in 16th. There's Young Choi finishing behind our lesser spotted Scottish non-chef, Mr. Gordon Ramsay. Alexander Redhead, Stephen Eckenrode will round out the top 20. Dennis Stryper and Byron DeBello. There is Stryper coming through the Jackie X-Bocht, and then on to the start-finish straight. And the Belgian will take the checkered flag, and there is Byron DeBello, the last driver to cross the line, in 22nd place. No Events takes 23rd. Danny Hugendorn and Alistair Hatcher ran at the top 25, all getting to pretty much to the checkered. And then that just goes to show. There's your results. Aidan Young finishing by just over a second from Berger. Fierro, Sproul, Strudwick rounding out the top 5. Peters in 6th. Thomas and Hammer. And Hammer will be on reverse grid top 8 pole position for the 30-minute feature race. Niall Killen, Alexander Vilfort, Bjorn Ritter, Adam Morrow, Nicholas Gerolf. Then we've got Spencer Marsh, Salvatore Guariento, Dominic Gerber, Gordon Ramsay, and Young Choi rounding at the top 18. There are the rest of the results, with Alexander Redhead and Stephen Eckenrode rounding at the top 20. Stryper, DeBello, Vence, Hugendorn, Hatcher, Eckert, and Meifert rounding out the grid. Holger Meifert calling it time on lap number 3.
Yeah, what we could do now is just have a quick look while we've got 2 minutes warm-up of the current pro standings in the championship.
So, well, look at that. We've got 2 tied at the top of the tree, and it's Daniel Thomas and Philip Hammer. Now, Thomas has had a better spate of results, but Hammer has kept the consistency. Vince Peters could usurp the pair of them tonight with his performances. So we'll see how that works out. Misha Berger in 4th, Samuel Sproul. Igor Koz not here tonight, so this will be one of his drop rounds. Neither is Emil Koopmans. Aidan Young in 8th, ahead of Jordan Strudwick, and the absent Niklas Nolder rounds out the top 10. No Django Val, no Jori Steinmetz. Corey Lazarus not here either. Spencer Marsh in 14th, Stefan Heineken in 15th, and Jaime Fierro, Danny Hugendorn, Lars Wetzig, Lee Holmes, and Salvatore Guariento running at the top 20. So that is the effectively, those are all the standings that are showing on your screens right now. Quite a few drivers, over 30 drivers have scored points at the moment. And in the AM class at the minute, well, you look at the top of the timesheets, and it is a certain Alexander Vilfort, Niall Killen, no events, Alexander Redhead, and Kenny Eckert running out the top 5 positions, covered by quite a few points there, I might add. Probably around about north of 30 there.
32.
Yeah, 32. Thank you very much for
that. No worries.
But they are going to very shortly start to grid up for our 30-minute sprint race, and I'm rather excited about that because it's Hammer time, folks. Philip Hammer is on pole position.
Yep. And there we go.
So the grid will be as follows. Philip Hammer and Daniel Thomas on the front row with Hammer on pole. Vince Peters, Jordan Strudwick, Samuel Sproul, Jaime Fierro, Misha Berger, Aidan Young, Niall Killen, Alexander Vilfort, Bjorn Ritter, Adam Morrow, Nicholas Gerolf, Spencer Marsh, Salvatore Guariento, Dominic Gerber, Gordon Ramsay, Young Choi, Alexander Redhead, and Stephen Eckenrode rounding out the top 20. Then it's Stryper, DeBello, Vence, Hugendorn, Hatcher, Eckert, and Meifert. That's your 27-strong grid. About to get underway under starters' orders for 30 minutes of racing. And this really does separate sometimes the men from the boys, doesn't it, James?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, right? Because I do love a reverse grid, but I'm also aware of the full chaos that can come with it. So hopefully from these points of view, we won't see that, and these guys will be able to go through.
So the lights have gone out and we're underway. Good start from the pole sitter, but Vince Peters like a jackhammer, and there is a jackhammer crash, and we've got 2 cars flipping upside down already, and it's all kicked off. We've not even got 60 seconds in, lads, and Hammer's off. Peters has gotten into the race lead. Gerolf, Sproul, Ramsay are already in the pits, so those were the 3 cars that ended up going up into the air.
Yeah, it was Struper, Sproul, Gerhoff, Ramsay all involved. Wilford went off track. Marsh went off track at the same time. Ramsay jumped back to the pits. Hammer's been off the side of the circuit. Sproul's been involved in an incident with Gerhoff as well. So it's all looking a little bit untidy currently, as we're literally, as you say, 60 seconds into the race.
Yeah, that's not what you need, and that's not what you want, because some of the drivers have returned to garage. Bjorn Ritter and Stephen Eckenrode have also gone off track, as everyone's bunny hopping through the curbs through the Kleine Chicane, up through, well, that's through the Villeneuve chicane, but the Kleine Chicane through Sacrament Schelling is also a problem, because you've got severe upwards and then downwards undulation within rapid succession. Philip Hammer looking to get through on Jaime Fierro, and Fierro makes a slight mistake by outbraking himself, and Hammer gets through rather neatly. as they come out of the Jochen Rindt bocht and then through into Jackie X. It's Vince Peters who has got a comfortable, well, a marginally comfortable lead of around 7 to 8 tenths of a second as we complete lap number 1.
Yeah, believe it or not, we've already completed lap 1. We've got 3 people in the pits. 1 out is currently at the moment. Wilford and Striper are dropping down the order currently as well. So there now, Striper's in, Gariento's in, Sproul's in, Gerhoff and Ramsey. So, yeah, it didn't quite go the way we thought that start was going to go, and it looked a little bit chaotic back in the front, in the middle of the pack, so we will try and pick up on where it all went a little bit wrong after a couple of laps or so and let this one just settle down a minute. As we can see, Aidan Young take a little bit of trip into the kitty litter at the same time there. But at the moment, so far so good, down to 19 runners as there's a lot of people into the pits.
Guariento's just done, I think, a fast repair. Spencer Marsh did a fast repair and then is now out of the pit lane. Yeah, so we had basically 7 cars all in at the same time. A couple initiating the good old fast repair that they like to use on iRacing. Misha Berger has just gone off track. He's currently in P6, but Vince Peters, like a rat up a drain pipe, has again the starters hold. Oh, Alexander Vilfert, what on earth was that? That was right into the back of the Pink Pig from Young Choi. And now looking into the next left-hander, Vilfert sends it up the inside. Young Choi gives him enough racing room. And it's going to go. That was a pretty good. That was a pretty good awareness from Young Choi, even though he did get a biff from behind, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's. To be honest, it makes you sit here and wonder whether or not that was a smart thing to do there with Wilfert in front of him currently at the moment. The only trouble is Noah Wentz is now behind him. The other WS Racing esports car as well. There's currently Philip Hammer sitting in 4th, of course. But yeah, I don't know, from Young Choi's point of view. Basically, I would have probably let him go at the same time for that one. But Misha Berger has also got Aidan Young tucked up right behind him as well. And this is a battle further down for 6th and 7th.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be swings, pendulum swings, whichever way you look at it. And so from my perspective, it's just about getting through these first few minutes of this race. And some have managed to weather the storm, but others have sort of like gone, well, I'm going to send it, see what happens. If it works out, fine, but we've got side by side. That was Thomas and Hammer's managed to get through on the chicane. That was through Villeneuve and into Terlamen. So Daniel Thomas losing a lot of momentum as they take the run down to Boulderberg, which is the next right. And that's a very tight right-hander, I might add, that goes straight into the left-right chicane at Jochen Rindt. So Hammer already is putting the throttle down, and he's going to start giving chase, isn't he, to the 2 in front, which are, at the minute, if I remember correctly, they're Strudwick and Peters, and Peters has already got a 1.3 second advantage. Yeah,
Berger's having a nice little tidy battle down in 7th here with Young. Further back from that, Young Choi is just about to have a go at Noah Wentz coming into turn 10. And doesn't make it through this time on the inside. But I want to have a quick look back at that start, because as we saw, it got a little bit chaotic. So I think we're going to be picking up Gordon Ramsay, I think. He's in the middle, the 20, where is he? Further back here on the right-hand side, the 22 car. So he got a barnstormer. Oh, it was the 66 car that, well, there you go.
Oh, that was Sproul. That was Sproul that got in the way, wasn't it? And it was 4 wide going down the start-finish straight when Ramsey just pulled straight away to the left-hand side, didn't he? He just got a lightning start, and Sproul just went airborne, and then I think someone did that in sympathy right next to him as well, so it's just a bit crazy.
Yeah, Sproul got a little bit wheel spinny off the line. He got a tap from behind that might have been Hammer there on the 941, and then as you can see, it all kind of... Yeah, when
who was that got stuck on the wall?
That's the 278 car. That would have been Gerhoff. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it all got a little bit messy there. Sproul wheel spun up, and then got tapped from one of the WS Racing boys. And then the rest, as you saw, was history.
Well, it was. I was waiting for someone to shout out, "Come on, mate! Get that thing off that wall right bleeding now." It's like you don't look, that car's meant to be on the tarmac, not on the wall at Zolder on the start-finish straight when everyone's trying to yeet each other into the shadow realm. And that's exactly what happened to Samuel Sproul. And he decided to call it a night after 5 minutes repair time, and then good old Gordon Ramsay had a 5-minute 14 repair time. But Vince Peters is not doing the fastest laps of the race, folks. Oh no, it's hammer time, 1 minute 29.74. And I think that is the outright fastest lap so far tonight.
Yeah, 1:29.74 by Philip Hammer is the fastest lap. Gerber's chasing down Morrow. There's been a little bit of an big incident there.
That was Alexander.
Hatchet?
Well, that was Alexander. That was Hatcher.
Yeah.
Mike, that looked like a very rapidly spinning. That was more than the 360. Okay, right. Alistair Hatcher's going through. Now, is he going to get a little... Oh, my goodness. He gets attacked from behind into the wall. Spinneroonie. And then gets another little assist. Oh, dear. And Byron DeBello also has drama because he was the one that was going off at Canal. So we're now going to see on board with Byron DeBello. So he goes wide, loses the back end because he's touched the left rear on the grass, gets an assist from behind. Spinneroonie. 360, well, make that probably like close to a 540. Well held on the brakes, but Hatcher just was absolutely pushed into the barriers like nobody's business.
Yeah, it was, do you know the thing with the start, right? I almost expected somebody to come out the window and go, "Oi, can't park there, sir," and then drive off.
It's like, look, there's no meter there, mate.
yeah, can't park there, mate. It'll come round and tow you.
Then you see the traffic warden coming along to the car in the distance. You're like, oh, we told you, you're going to get a ticket. But the ticket might just be for virtual damage that requires an invoice to be supplied, so to speak.
The cost is going to be cheaper for him, to be honest. You know what I mean? He's only got to press the exit button, go back to the pits and not have to worry about it. I think, to be honest, if that was a little bit real life, I think the team would have been a little bit unhappy about that car ending up on the side of the wall. But, you know, I suppose technically he wouldn't have had far to go, would he? Because he was right next to his pit box.
We'll just get the JCB cranes and bring him back to the pit box, and then go, yeah, that won't buff out, mate. Sorry, invoice is coming your way.
Sorry,
but
mate,
moving swiftly on. Yeah, exactly. But we've got a good battle going on here. This is for 8th place. Adam Morrow in the 568 versus Dominic Gerber, who's made up 7 positions. You know what? Bit of a resurgence, though, by 2 drivers I've just noticed. We'll make that 3. Danny Hugen, 30.
Sorry, Hammer's just gone
again.
past Strudwick there and is now only 2.3 back from Peters. So, Hammer is producing hammer time. Apologies for cutting over you, but, got a little bit excited.
It's the sharp intake of breath, and I just instantly went eerily silent, didn't I? It's like, right, James is about to speak. Let him go. Let him off the leash. Right, so, as I was alluding to my point before, I was not rudely interrupted. Very politely interrupted, thank you, James. 3 big movers in this race. Danny Hugendorn started 24th, now 11th. Kenny Ecker has made the most moves so far in this race. 14 positions, started down in P26 and Noah Wentz, currently P13, having started 23rd. Game on for these guys to hopefully getting a nice amount of points, but as you said, well, Philip Hammer is actually losing a little bit of time. He lost 0.3 on the previous lap to Vince Peters.
Yeah, it's hovering around that 2.3 seconds. So we'll keep an eye over the next sort of 10 minutes how it comes down there as well. I want to go back as we refer to Hugen, no offence, Hugendorn there is clearly producing his own airflow on that engine and deciding that his cooling system works better than having a bonnet on top of that, because at the moment he hasn't got anything, and he's obviously been involved in a little bit of a ta-ta-ta somewhere along the racetrack that has caused that to happen.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
It looks like someone's taken a sledgehammer to the underside of the front splitter as well. So we'll just get that bit back into shape. And as I say that, he catches the ball on the left side. The left fender gets an absolute mullering, and probably the suspension and upright will probably be like going, "Ow, that was not part of the plan, was it, Danny?"
No, that's like a Days of Thunder moment where we'll get it back to the pits and his engineer will just come out and kick the door and he'll be like, "What'd you do that for?" He goes, "Well, that's the only part you didn't hit." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Poor old Danny there is Yeah, that car's in a little bit of a state, but one man that isn't is Adam Morrow chasing down Dominic Gerber. Gerber looks like he's got a little bit of damage on the front right as well. So Gerber obviously, to be fair though, Alex, they were in and around that whole melee at the front. So, you know, any of this could have happened literally on the start-finish straight. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, and this is where most of the damage was, because as we saw, there were cars up in the air and all sorts. So, you know.
It was like, you know those stunt movies where they have those air ram jacks underneath the cars? They like literally flip them up. That's exactly what it reminded me of, that someone's hit the emergency button a bit too soon in the stunt. I said, right, you went 5 seconds too early on that, mate. And it was like Samuel Sproul was like, well, it's a bit late now, mate. I'm upside down. Yep. The roof might be hitting the floor first, not the wheels. But yeah, like it. Well, Philip Hammer is now really pushing. He's got that gap down to Vince Paters to 1.73 seconds. He's just put in the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 29.51. Vince Paters was nearly 0.6 of a second slower. Now, in consideration of that, Vince Paters is pretty much pushing himself through his own air. So Philip Hammer now has a bit of clear air, can now start to close that gap. We're nearly halfway through lap number 9 of this race with just over 17 minutes to go. We're riding on board with Alexander Redhead, who has made up one position. He's trying to close in on the now recovering Spinnerini artist known as Alistair Hatcher, who was actually assisted in said Spinnerini. Spinnerini, if anyone might remember WWE with Booker T, that was his trademark in the middle of the ring. So, hence the fact that when I see a 360 now, I instantly collate it to Booker T and Spinnerini. So, word association there, folks.
Yeah, the 5-5-5-5-time champion. Booker T.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
That was it as well, wouldn't he? He'd wave his hand with his 5 up in front of his face, and he'd be like, 5-5. Anyway, showing our age there, mate. That's exactly what we're up to here. But Jaime Ferrero and Misha Berger here. No real reason for Jaime to fight this. He is leading the AMs. He can allow Misha to go through, but that's obviously, you know, you're telling a racing driver not to defend, and that's just never really going to happen. I do like his two-tone paint livery, though. I've got to be honest. It's very interesting, should we say. But again, Ferrero's got no real reason to fight Berger. Different classes. Fierro's in the AMs, Berger's in the pros. So it would just be seeing her not really trying to do anything silly, I think.
Jaime Fierro's livery reminds me of the Jeff Kunst art cars from BMW. That's where I get that vibe from. You know, multicolored. I think we could class it as the Joseph's amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat variation of the PCUP Challenge. In terms of how it looks, which is great. And that's what I was saying to Dan in the early part of this season, that the attention to detail. Fierro is off, and that is sideways, and he's kept that out. Well held, Jaime. That was definitely Code Brown written all over it, and he kept it out the barrier. There's no damage on the front of that, but I'm sure that his underwear will need a change after that scare through into the Kleine Chicane, and then going into Sacrament Shelling. That is where and I've seen it, how steep it is at Sacrament Shelling. It is incredible where you see the cars fly their way through the Kleine Chicane, then up Sacrament Shelling. You hear the exhaust notes, you see the car, and then you don't see it. What you don't want to see is someone doing that and ending up in the kitty litter, hard on the brakes, clenching buttocks like there's no tomorrow, and nearly spanking it into the wall. He was lucky to get away with that one.
Yeah, he definitely did, but he did what we were talking about. When we were mentioning these high curves and that bouncing off that climb, he did that, and he did that here as well. So as he goes through the first part, he manages the first part fine, but then he has to kind of straight line it, and he's off up into the air, and he'd already flicked the back left wheel. So unfortunately for that put the whole car out of balance anyway, and then coming on, once you hit that second part, well, you're done and dusted, unfortunately, for that one. And yeah, he's, you know, managing to survive. He's now still ahead of the AMs, but that nice little comfortable gap he had has come down to 5 seconds with 14 minutes remaining.
And Danny Hugendorf now finds himself in a genuine 9th place, folks. He's about 6 seconds behind Dominic Gerber, who's in his own right 6/10 behind, as 6/10 behind, or make that half a second now behind Dominic Gerber. The aero efficiency has been redefined on the front of Danny Hugendorf's car, like you were mentioning earlier. No front bonnet on that thing, no hood to speak of. But still, for him to run at a 1:31.5, that's pretty good considering the amount of loose bits on the front of that motor.
Yeah, and I think from the upside of that as well, he's actually faster than some of the cars around him still. He's you know, that 1:31.56. He's faster than Fierro, faster than Killen, faster than Eckert, faster than Wentz, faster than Choi. And he's not going to be having anything really to worry about at the moment. Fierro's there behind him. Different classes again. So from Fierro's point of view, he's not really got to fight him. He can just sit back and chill out. But the fact that this just kind of goes to show of how much perseverance you need here as a sim racing driver. Because he could have brought that in and just said no. But he didn't. He kept it out. He's gained, nearly 15 positions. He's got somewhat of a quarter of a full car that he should have had, and yet he's still flying along quite nicely and on a 1:31.32. So, you know, he's doing the biz there. Sorry, butchering your name there. Hogendorn currently at the moment.
Yep. So Hugendorn just, it's like a wounded animal, that car. He's just making the best of it. And Jaime Fierro must be kicking himself because he probably would have been a little bit further into the top 8 than where he was as we've just gone through the place of where the scene of the crime where Jaime Fierro had the code brown. Now we're back with Adam Morrow, still battling away with Dominic Gerber. The pair are just over half a second, maybe make that half a second. Well, Dominic Gerber's absolutely flying at the moment. He's just put in his personal best, and they come over the hill into the next right here at Boulderberg, and then into Jochen Rindt. Now this is the easiest chicane, which you can nearly straight line. Gerber is trying to do his level best to keep on terms with Hugendorn. Well, no, with Morrow. And look, Gerber just absolutely sent it. And to be honest, Adam Morrow really had no way of defending it. And now, I think one of the good things is that sometimes you can strategize in these 30-minute races whereby you don't necessarily want to be the one doing the leading. You're the one that wants to do the chasing, because you're gonna get a little bit of a benefit from that dirty air that the driver in front is going to push, but you also get maybe an extra 5 to 8 kilometers an hour of top speed. And when that is quite crucial, especially on a short run, like say from Lucien Bianchi Bocht, which is like turn 3, and then into the Kleine Chicane, you really need to be on the left-hand side of the circuit to facilitate that move through the Kleine Chicane, because otherwise, if you're on the right, you could, as we saw with Young Choi earlier on, go straight on, and instantly the first thing you get is an you get a couple of X points, and then straight away you get a slowdown.
Yes. Or you get squeezed out and pushed against the wall. So, from that perspective, don't go too wide at turn 5, right? Because it doesn't always work out. So, don't do it. I don't think Morrow's got the pace to keep with Gerber. He's just lost nearly a second already. Fierro's nearly closed back up onto Danny in front of him, of course, at 9.92 there. It's really no surprise that he's closed back up, considering the amount of car that's actually left on Danny's car in front of him currently at the moment as well. But the gap up front's come down at 8/10, so we're going to keep an eye on that one as well, as he's dropping. Paid the last time out 1:29.94, Philip Hammer 1:29.59, so he's pulled up 3 tenths over the last lap, and we're going to keep an eye on it now. But this gap at the moment is down about half a second, and as you can see down in 21st, Spencer Marsh there is trying to chase down Brian DeBello in front of him as well. So this is the current closest battle, but I don't think it's going to be the only one in the next 9 minutes.
No, like you say, Jaime Fierro is about half a second behind. Noah Vence, Kenny Eckert and Young Choi. Eckert in 12th, Vence in 13th, Choi in 14th. 1.6 seconds cover those 3 drivers at the moment, but then also the battle for P3. Jordan Strudwick is coming under pressure from the likes of Daniel Thomas, and race 1 winner tonight, Aidan Young, as Danny Hugendorn absolutely flies it through past Jaime Fierro through the chicane. That was at the Kleine Chicane, through Sacrament Schelling, down through into Buta, and now into the Villeneuve chicane. Jaime Fierro still fancies the opportunity of putting one up on Hugendorn, and at the minute it's a top 9 pro lockout as the time is fast running out, Mr. Parfitt.
Yeah, Hugendorn there didn't really need to defend as much as he is. He's defending harder than a Jose Mourinho football team here. He's literally parking the bus and putting everybody in behind him. He's probably got the missus in the car throwing out things at the car. The builders in there building walls for Fiero. And he doesn't really need to. The car's bashed up, mate. We can physically see it. You can clearly see it as well. So from his point of view, it's the weighing up the pros and cons of whether or not Fiero is worth fighting with.
Yeah.
You want to keep the position. I get it. You really do. But, he defended too much into 5 and he could have caused himself a mass drama that he clearly has already been through throughout at some point in this race already.
Yeah, it's getting a bit close, a bit too close for comfort between Young, Choi and No Events. They are battling away over 12th position. Gap between them is about 2.5 tenths. Lead gap is now 8.5 tenths because Vince Baters has just put in his best lap of the race so far. 1 minute 29.67. Adam Morrow is now 2 seconds adrift from Dominic Gerber, who has managed to push away. And and is that going to hit the barriers? Yeah. Oh, lucky beggar. Yeah. Twice in the same part of the circuit on both respective sides. Jaime Fiero, how on earth is there not even the slightest amount of scratching on that car? You are one lucky puppy.
Yeah, he's got a slight little indent on the front splitter in the middle that's almost made the car like he's hit a post there. Just off centre, you can see the little slight left indent.
Yes.
So he's got like the smallest amount of damage from doing the same thing at the same corner for no reason. There was just... He could have took his line through there. Huggendorn had given him the line. There wasn't much to worry about. He could have just followed him straight through and tried to got him on that run out from 5 through to 7, of course. But clearly, he thought better of it. And Hammer is thinking better of it, the fact he's going to catch Peters now. So this is going to be a really interesting one as we come into the last 6 minutes.
Yes, because if anyone might remember VIR with Igor Koz defending or leading the race for the majority of it, and then Vince Peters tried to throw a curveball his way, could we see Philip Hammer get his first victory of the season? It has been long overdue. He's been running very, very consistently in the top 5 as the WS Racing Esports driver, the current reigning and defending champion. That gap is now 7 tenths as they go into the Jackie X chicane. Baters and Hammer, very smooth, very consistent. Aidan Young, in the meantime, is closing in on Daniel Thomas for 4th place. Salvatore Guariento just close behind Alexander Redhead for 17th position. No Events not that far behind either on Spencer Marsh, and that is about for P19. 3 tenths separate the pair. But yeah, the time is really close to running out, but Vince Peters, he did exactly what he needed to do. So did Philip Hammer in the first race. It was about damage limitation. Just get yourselves up the order as far as you could. Hammer got to 8th, Peters got to 6th, and as a result of that, they were in the 2 perfect positions to start off this feature. So from that perspective, there is no surprise in my mind, or yours I would imagine, that both Baters and Hammer were going to start cantering away. I mean, look at the distance between them and Jordan Strudwick. It is immense. It's 12 seconds.
Yeah, they've just been dominant. 4.5 minutes to go, and these guys have been dominant. Now, the interesting thing that I've noticed over the last few laps, I couldn't work out where Peters had damage on the front left of that car. And it was only when Hammer pulled out behind him. Hammer's got damage in exactly the same place on the front left of the car at the bottom of the splitter. Now, I don't know if that's coming from Klein chicane where they're taking so much curb that they're actually damaging the car on the right-hand side. But Peters has got it on the left. And if we see Hammer just there on the left-hand side as well, got it in exactly the same place. And I couldn't work out where that come from because neither had been involved in an incident.
Yeah, so it's on the right-hand side of the car, but for you folks at home, you'll see it on the left-hand side of the screen. So from that perspective, they are both running identically inadvertently adjusted setups thanks to the front splitter at the same clean place on the car. But they're both lapping within the set. Oh, as Vince Peters gets a wobble. That was a big old wobble coming out of Lucien Bianchi bocht. Vince Paters having his own Code Brown scare moment through the Kleine Chicane, now up into Sacrament Schelling. And now we're back on board with Philip Hammer. And you know what? Vince Paters gets a really good run coming out of the Kleine Chicane and just launches the car up the Sacrament Schelling. And then before you know it, it's over the next 2/3 of the circuit that Philip Hammer is able to close that gap. But for some reason, Vince Paters' wobble might have just settled him enough to sort of go, right, Hammer is behind me. I do not want that beggar passing me unless he's in a straight-up dogfight, because there's 3 minutes to go. We're nearly at that point where there's going to be just 2 laps remaining as our race leader goes through into the Jackie X box. So this and another lap to go will decide our feature race winner for round 4. And this will be the first time we actually have a double winner, a successive double winner for the feature. Because at the moment, we've had Aidan Young, Igor Koz, and last time out it was Vince Paters. So, and if this happens, this will be Vince Paters' 4th win of the year, the season itself. So, I think Hammer has reason to be worried, because what was he, 8 points behind both Hammer and Thomas coming into this round of the championship? I think Hammer's now got to start working a little bit harder.
Yeah, there's one thing about working harder. There's one thing about pushing the car on the limits. And then there's one thing about making a mistake that goes with all of that, all in one go. And I've got a funny feeling, I don't know if Hammer's got what it takes here. I'm not doubting the German himself. I'm not giving him bad press or, stop the press. Commentator says Hammer. I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to be able to get Paters here on the final lap of the race. There was a big old movement down in front. I think that was Hatcher, but I also believe now Hatcher is sat on the side of the road, right where the leaders have just gone through, and Hatcher's called it a day and put it in as well. So Paters is going to come through and take the white flag lap, of course, and job done. And now he's got an 8-10th gap here, and I don't think Hammer's going to be able to get near him.
No, I think it might be the same sort of situation that we'll have at Spa-Francorchamps in a week's time, because it's another circuit that all Belgian drivers do love, and it's a double header. It's going to be the biggest opportunity he will have to score as many points as humanly possible. But just the way that he has gone about saying, you know what, Philip Hammer might be the defending champion, but I think it's now my time to shine, and he definitely has done so. No one has picked up more wins than Vince Paters so far, because he's going to make it a quartet in 3 rounds. The sprint race winner at VIR, the double header last time out, and now on home territory at Zolder, he's not put a foot wrong. He's had a little wobble here or there. Hammer's gotten close, but not been able to have the opportunity to get past him as they go through into Boulderberg. 2 chicanes remain. Vince Paters, the number 45, will take his 4th win of the season. There's a little bit of backmarker traffic just up ahead. Philip Hammer is trying to close in. He won't be there or thereabouts to have a bit of a last-minute lunge. The checkered flag is out. Vince Paters wins again, and this time it is on home soil at Circuit Zolder. Philip Hammer with one of his best finishes so far this season. He's had 2 major top 3s, and Vince Paters celebrates in style. Jordan Strudwick will be coming around very, very shortly to complete his 20th lap, and he takes P3. Aidan Young 4th, Daniel Thomas 5th, Misha Berger will take 6th position ahead of Dominic Gerber, Adam Morrow, and well done to Danny Hugendorn, biggest mover of the night from 24th to 9th place. But we now concentrate on the AM leader, who's won the sprint already, Jaime Fierro. I think he could very much be escalated to pro for the next round of the season in just 7 days' time, because he makes his way through Jackie X Bocht, and he will take the AM class win, and what's more, round out the top 10.
Yeah, he's coming across the line. 2 out of 2 for Fierro there. He obviously made them, and that's the thing, I think. Fierro still made them a couple of mistakes, didn't he, as well, at the same corner. in turn 5. So if he hadn't made them, he might have been past Huggendorn. I'm not saying he would have got Morrow, because I think Morrow might have been a little bit too far up the road. But this is currently Redhead and DeBello on your screen. DeBello in the black, Redhead in the green and blue. He's going to send it.
Oh, that's a bit close. That was a bit close. DeBello had to back out of it, but Redhead still keeps ahead at that point, and Redhead will secure 17th. DeBello will be 18th. Alexander Vilfert finishing ahead of Noah Vence, who with 0.08 of the lap to go hasn't made it to the checkered, but he's still going to be classified in 20th position. And Alistair Hatcher will be the last of the classified finishers down in 21st, but Vince Peters does it again on home, this time on home soil. 4th win of the year. Philip Hammer, close but no cigar for the German, the defending reigning champion. Jordan Strudwick, another strong performance. Aidan Young, a win in the sprint, 4th in the feature. That's going to be good points for him. Daniel Thomas, Misha Berger, Dominic Gerber, Adam Morrow and Danny Huggendorn making it an all top 9 pro lockout, with Jaime Fierro leading the way, finishing ahead of fellow AM competitor Niall Killen, who rounds out the top 11. And it's Kenny Eckert, Bjorn Ritter, Salvatore Guariento finishes 14th, Spencer Marsh 15th, Young Choi, Alexander Redhead, Byron DeBello, Alexander Vilfert, no events, Alistair Hatcher being the last of the 21 classified finishers. And earlier in the race, we lost Dennis Stryper, Stephen Eckenrode, Samuel Sproul, Nicholas Gerolf, and Gordon Ramsay, with Holger Meafert not pretty much being there, and with a few airborne Porsche Carrera Cup cars for good measure.
Yes.
Well, that was 2 entertaining races there, wasn't it, buddy?
Yeah, it was. And I think the thing is we saw race 1, and it was fairly clean, you know.
Yes.
A few little iggly bigglies that you could probably write home about, but there's really no point. But race 2, 60 seconds of chaos. It was like everybody's had a sip of their Red Bull and just sat there hyping themselves up in the car like, yeah! And the car went, and then it just all went Pete Tong. Sproul put too much acceleration through, and we saw what happened after that.
Yeah, it was a bit like sort of Bo and Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard, like literally making sure that Sheriff P. Coltrane's car was ending up skywards. But you know, I mean, it was an entertaining evening, mate, and it was a pleasure to be alongside you in the comms box tonight as well. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, good to be here. I will be here for the next few weeks, so I will get to see you again, young sir.
Indeed. So, round 5. Next week, we go about a couple of hours south to the Liège region of Belgium, as the iconic 6.96 kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit will be the scene for the double race evening at Spa-Francorchamps. Big thanks once again to our backers at the Porsche Cup Challenge Europe. Of course, Blackout Electrical Services, based out of Brisbane, serving Australia's South Queensland area, electricians specialising in commercial, industrial renovations and fit-outs, power systems analysis and switchboard replacements. Well, Vince Peters, 4 wins out of the opening 4 rounds. Can anyone stop his run next week at Spa-Francorchamps? Join myself and James to find out. Until then, this has been a JPB Broadcasting production. You've been joined by myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, PCUP Challenge Americas heads to Spa on Thursday. We'll be back a week from today to see you for round 4. Until then, good night, and enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday, folks.